Reactive Training Systems.
And how you been, Mike?
I'm doing all right, man.
Yeah.
Living that unsustainable lifestyle.
Oh yeah. I almost, for the first time, actually almost got an energy drink the other day when I had to drive to Houston. Well, it's not really that far, but it's just with the traffic and everything, it goes from being like a 2-hour drive to like a 4-hour drive. So I ended up being about a 5-hour drive inland to get a new passport, because somehow between the time I left from the time I left Worlds to the time I got home, my passport just magically disappeared, and I just got it renewed. I just got it renewed in April, so
Yeah.
I had to go through the whole expedite process. So I had to drive to Houston to do that, and then they told me it wasn't gonna be ready that day, so I had to drive back again on Monday. So like the first time I walked in the gas station, I was like, I need something with some caffeine, So I kept looking at them like, I just can't do it. Freaking, I can't. I'm like, I still stuff to keep me awake. I wish.
No, man, I get it now. Like, for the longest time, I stayed away from it and stayed away from, like, I was low intake on caffeine in general, but now it's like, I see why people like them, because they taste good and they make you feel better.
Oh yeah, you get from point A to point B a lot quicker with them. That's for sure. Like I think the last one I voluntarily had was it was last year at the Olympia. Went to the Olympia, and they gave me a bang, and I drank half of that thing, and I lost my brain. I started freaking trying to lift everyone and everything, and I think I might have had maybe 150. I think like 300 milligrams per. I think I had maybe half of it, man. And I was shaking and everything. I was like, yeah, this is definitely no go for me. My body's way too sensitive to caffeine, apparently. So
I need to get back to that.
Already.
Like, there was a time, I don't know, it was a few months ago, maybe late last year, but I was training, was tired, so I had about 100 milligrams of caffeine.
Right.
And I was basically on zero for most of the time, man. I was wired on 100 milligrams of caffeine. And now it's like, I remember sending a message to Jim, and I don't know, everything was funny. He's like, what kind of baby are you when 100 milligrams of caffeine has that type of effect? But I'd like to get back to that now, because that means I would be sleeping at night.
Oh yeah, there's that. You gotten fairly adjusted to life back on the other side of the pond, I guess?
No, not at all. So it's
I'm gonna stay put.
Well, we'll be here for 3 years, but a good thing too, because it's taken a while. I feel like I've been moving for months.
Yeah.
This has been just the most long and drawn out process, and I think a lot of it has to do with us selling our house before we left. But like, we're in our new place now, but we don't have any household goods or anything like that. Like, I was telling Ross before we started that I've got a couple shipments that we're expecting, and one of them will be like next week. It's like the small shipment, and then you expect like the big one that has most of your stuff. That won't be until like August or something. So
What?
Yeah, so it'll definitely be like, I was telling people before I left, it was like back in May, and they're like, hey, you excited about going? I was like, I'll be excited in September. And people kind of laugh, because it's like September, like, that's ridiculously far away. It's going to be September before I actually am settled down. And
so like you just like found a place to train or something, or?
Yeah, there's a good gym near here, so that's definitely a positive.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I was actually talking to Steph about it. I haven't decided whether or not when we get there. I need to talk to Danny and them and see how they plan on, if we're gonna do like last year where we just kind of hop in everyone's car and everything, or if we're, I want to figure that part out, because if not, then we may just rent something. Because I wouldn't mind going down to Enniskillen. It's not too far. It's not too close. A couple hours south of Dublin. They have an awesome gym down there, and I don't know if you ever knew Colin Wright. He was
Sounds real familiar.
He was a 120. I think he won in either in Africa or I think he won in Africa. He was a 120 Masters, I believe, and he won there. And I mean, he's been super competitive every year, but these last couple years he got cancer, so he's kind of recovering from that. Just gone through chemo and all that stuff, man. Super nice guy. Stayed in contact with me throughout the years, and I actually work for the cheer team, believe it or not, that lives in the same city as he does, and I have a bunch of friends that live down there. So I thought, like, you know what, we might head down there, and just for the sake of having room, because again, it seems like the people have doubled. So I was like, well, I mean, how are they going to fit us all? But again, I don't know. I don't really know the schedule. Normally, I'm nosy about it, and I just kind of ask, oh, so what are we going to do? So this time I'm just like, I'm just going to roll with the punches.
Yeah.
I'm just excited to be coming back, to be honest with you. So
yeah, me too. I was telling you guys last year, angling to get that re-invite.
Oh yeah,
work out, but
I was Eric. It was kind of funny because when I was talking with Eric, oh man, it was about a month or two before, I guess, they sent out a lot of invites to people, whatever, and it was back. I think he reached out to me like back in it was like January, February. He goes, hey man, if you goes, don't say much, but we're looking at bringing you guys back, and it goes, in case you're wondering, you do belong, so we want to have you back. So I was like, yeah, that's awesome. He's like, yeah, so just kind of keep on wraps for a little bit, and we're gonna invite we're gonna try to invite a few more people, but we're looking at bringing everybody back. So I was talking with Eric, and I honestly I wasn't thinking, because I had him like, oh, it's I think it was like April or May. So I was like, oh, I'm sure he's already heard from him and everything. And I was like, yeah, man, I was really excited to go back to Ireland. He goes, wait, what? They invite you to go back? I'm like, huh? Huh? All I could say was, huh? He's like, yeah. I was like, yeah, man. I thought I was the last one they invited. I'm sure. Oh, I didn't even know. I just kind of, and I just looked out like 2 days later. I think they reached out to him and everything, and he hit me up and he's like, hey man, yeah, I got my invite. Because I thought I said something wrong and didn't get invited back. I was like, dude, I said as many things as you can say wrong as possible. I was like, I'm sure everyone's coming back, but yeah, I was excited when I saw everybody that I think while we were in Calgary. That's when Sue's like, yeah, they invited me to come and do it. I'm like, oh, that's gonna be great. So I'm excited. I think it's gonna be an awesome lineup, man. So we'll see how that all works out. So
yeah, me too. It was a good time last year, and then I hope we do get some training time like we did last year. Because I mean, to me, that's as I don't know, that's as good as going on a tour someplace, because I don't know, that's the thing that I like doing. So if we can get some training time with people that you don't get to train with, that's hard.
Ross put me to work, so I have to train. I don't have a choice. What a dick! I don't have a choice at all.
Oh damn!
Yeah, man. I was golly. I got my high bar out of the way last night. I'm not gonna lie, I was dead tired. I was like, you know what? Let's at least go in, get the high bar out of the way. And so got my high bar done, and I was like, all right, well, let's move on to bench. I was zonked. I was like, there's no way. I can't brace. I can't keep tight. I can't concentrate on this freaking AC. I'm like, we're just gonna come back. We're gonna come back. I mean, because I gotta go the docking way today. Get them to work on a little bit. I mean, they work on it like twice a week, every week. So I was like, yeah, I was just gonna come in afterwards and see how it feels, and ordered a brace. Not necessarily a brace, not like sling, but one of those. I didn't even know they made them. Like there's like a brace like for the cuff and the AC joint and all that stuff. So I guess it's like comes from the side, so it just gives you like some additional support. And so I ordered one of those bad boys. It's supposed to come in today, so let's see how that feels. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it doesn't. I'm good. It's just weird. It's weird saying that I actually feel pain around 405. Like is when I actually feel it. So the guy's like, oh, so you're human now. You're actually human. You can actually feel pain. I'm like, oh yeah, I feel it very much. I mean, it's just it's just weird. My left side is completely betraying me between the freaking. I just say I'm getting old. I'm just those stuff. I'm just not even gonna worry about the open. I'm just gonna enter straight masters and not even worry about it. Just do some openers and just hopefully win. But with the quad tendonitis and the freaking AC joint, my left side is just like I'm retiring. Everything else is ready to roll. But it's definitely been a journey. So like we're gonna see how that works out today and let them work on me a little bit, and so we'll be able to. So I'll be able to actually lift a little bit in Ireland. We'll see. I don't know. So
well, you seem to have. I don't know. It as you were talking, it kind of felt like you're getting back into training real quick, but I guess it's not that quick. It's been like a month since the Worlds, right?
Yeah, it's like taking my time, which I mean that was my plan initially, was just to really kind of take my time getting back into it. But normally before I would just my active rest would really consist of like I'd go in, do a few accessories, go home, and that's it. Just not really. So then whenever I tried to get back in the saddle, it just seemed like it was such a long journey to just get back to, get back to where I'm comfortable with my openers. So, in this manner, it's a lot easier in terms of just the transition. And, because I think a lot of times, I was such a, just athletic wise, like, when you're like do football and track or whatever, like if you hurt something, they say, all right, you're off. Don't do anything, do a little rehab, but you don't do anything. So I was always used to like, all right, if I'm hurt, I'm just going to rest. I'm not going to do anything, and with a lot of this stuff, it's like it's such a precise active rest, to rehab it. And I honestly, as dumb as it sounds, when I felt the like I use the quad tendonitis, for example, when I felt that coming on, I was like, all right, I'm just not gonna do anything. I'm gonna get off my feet, I'm gonna lay up, ice it, elevate it, compress it, and I should be good. But it just kept getting worse, and so guys like, you need to, between the tempering, I mean, no lie, I'll be completely honest with you, like man to man, I couldn't even do a body weight squat. It got so bad I couldn't even. I was doing I tried to squat my body weight and it was all on my right leg. I was like, all right, well, this is bad. So we started tempering and massaging and doing a lot of just, just basic rehab and, actually squatted, and of course Ross got on my ass about that. So I was like, you actually have to squat. You actually have to do something. And I'll be damned that next week I could actually squat, 225. I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty crazy. Then, that was Monday, and then just kept working it, started flossing. And by the time we got to Friday, I was actually, squatting, 405 fairly decently. And so now it's just, it's just, it's honestly just getting a feel for it again, just like working the technique and everything. I still haven't really mastered the neutral, that neutral head position. I suck at that. That's I suck at it. So, I keep staring at the heavens, trying to get that part down. It was this is no lie. It was to the point I didn't know it was that. I honestly didn't know it was that evident until like Ed Cohen sent me a freaking message. He's like, hey man, let me know if you need help with that squat and maybe need to work on that head position. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Thanks. No one told me. No one would tell me, and yeah, so he's like, yeah, let me know if you need help with that squat technique. He goes, you want to look at that head position in a little bit. I'm like, all right, shit, great. So
that can kind of be a hard change, especially if you're used to using it, you're holding your head a certain way for a long time. That can be kind of a hard thing to change because it's such a almost subtle subconscious thing that you're not really thinking about, because you're more thinking about the weight and driving it up with your legs than you are thinking about, oh, what's my head doing?
Oh man, that's been the hardest thing. Everything else has been pretty easy to assimilate and add to the game, but that head thing, man, it is. I'll get a couple of them, and I'll think of head, but then I won't brace. You know, like, all right, my head's where it needs to be. Shit, I didn't breathe at all. Okay, let me do that again. You know, so it was that's been the biggest challenge. But what I can feel it when I lock in. I'm like, all right, I'm in here. I'm good, and I'm good for like 2 reps, and then I don't know. And then it goes away again. It's football, is what it is. I mean, because that's what all my coaches like. Hey, you gotta look up. Gotta make sure you look up to go up. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And so I adopted that shit and stuck with it for years. And well, I guess I got to redo it all. So. But yeah, that was one of the. I kind of laughed at it when I saw the message. Like, is it that bad? Okay, great. Appreciate it. Thanks. Thanks, Goat.
Oh yeah, I think it's funny to look back at like super old stuff and see where you were at back in the day compared to where you're at now. I looked at a video from like when I first got back into lifting after I moved up here and watched a squat video and paused it what my position looked like when I was in the hole, and I'm like, holy crap, that's ugly. And I do this for a living now. That's a big full circle right there.
Tell you that, and I was looking at my sumo style squats for a little bit. I mean, don't get me wrong, they weren't anywhere near Cooperstein, but I could have rivaled them for a little bit. My first couple of meets, man, I was trying to get as wide as physically possible.
I remember that.
Between I was like, well, I've seen guys squat within the shoulder width. Let me try that. That was a bust. I think I did my opener and I almost fell forward. I'm like, yeah, we're never gonna do that again. So yeah, I was just trying to find any way to hit depth, man. That was godly. Looking back on that,
you used to squat super wide like that. Like if you were in a power rack, like feet all the way out to the sides, And for me, I don't know if I've ever bombed out of a meet because of it, but I definitely had trouble hitting depth at a couple meets because legal depth was just the very limit of my range of motion. I was like, you don't have an extra inch that you can go if you need it. You got one judge on the side who's being a stickler or something like that. Like that, there is no extra inch. So maybe I ought to try something else. And I did, and it started out just being like a gamesmanship thing. Like it may not make me stronger, but it would make me able to lift more weights in competition. But it ended up being stronger too. So win-win.
I finally, that's been I was actually talking with JP Price, he goes, yeah, man, he just 1 steps out of the rack. And I'm like, dude, I don't even know how one does that. I tried to go and see about that because well, I feel like, the quicker not necessarily the quicker I get my setup done, but I guess the more efficient my setup is, I feel like I set myself up for a better squat. I don't necessarily have time to think about the weight. I just, think of my cues and go. So I'm gonna try this 1 step. I was falling all over the place, man. I was like, all right, this is definitely not for me, So, I was tried 2-step. I still suck at 2 steps. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna stick with this 3-step. I think I'm good with that. That 1 step. I've only seen a couple people that can actually do it, but I'm like, man, you're damn near over 1,000 pounds over your back. Like, why would you 1-step that? But And then of course,
I think because I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, man. He goes, yeah, I just 1-step. I'm like, no way. And because you wouldn't have, because like the one full meet that I watched him do was that US Open. I've seen him train a few times, but he never does this, you never really see the walkout. You just see like the actual descent. And when I watched him the US Open, like he never got a chance to 1-step because the stage was so horrible, I guess. And I guess he's saying how those kabuki bars weren't the greatest of things. And but he took I think that last one he did before, I don't even think he did his third. He may have passed. But I know that last one I watched him do, it was like a 9-step, 8 or 9 step. He couldn't catch his balance. And he's like, yeah, if you look closely, you'll see the back spot actually kept me from going backwards. He actually pushed me back and to get my balance. I was like, yeah, there's no way. I said, yeah, you might want to look at doing, maybe a 2-step, but I don't know. I'm still trying to wrap my brain around that. I'm still trying to master the freaking 3-step. So I don't know. Now I got to do this whole head thing. Like I said, it hadn't really been too bad. It's just one of those things where, just trying to, just make things a little bit more efficient, and a lot less, I feel like I've tried to be more calculated with all my stuff, and I found it's not my thing. I'd rather just kind of commit it to memory, make it muscle memory, and go. So obviously, I guess priority 1 is to heal up. Priority 2 is I guess to get this technique correct. And I still haven't decided if. I don't even know. Like, they've asked me about bench nationals. Still haven't decided if I'm going to do bench nationals. I haven't signed up for raw nationals. Like, man, if I can't get this squat correct, I'm not going to go out there and embarrass myself. Not again.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I think what you're doing is not something that most people would consider embarrassing, but I know what you're saying at the same time.
I don't know.
So you talked about you being dinged up a little bit, and I know you've kind of given your play-by-play for Worlds already. But would you mind taking us through what Worlds was like for you?
Oh, no, not at all. I mean,
let's start at the beginning. It was
especially like those few hours before weigh-in.
Oh my gosh!
A few hours before weigh-in, and then post weigh-in right before you lifted. Like that was
man.
I don't think people understand what you went through.
I don't think they want to know what I went through. Honestly, it was one of those things where, I mean, the weight was actually right where it needed to be. I mean, we always do a little bit of a weight cut, but the weight cut wasn't anything out of an ordinary. It's like 6 pounds. I mean, I kept reporting to you over and over and over, like, hey, weight's good, right where it needed to be. And I was good until about, it was about 11:30, 12 o'clock. And I no joke, I just yawned. And I went to yawn and my jaws kind of cramped a little bit. I'm like, I know, big deal. They do that every now and again, but it quickly, it's just weird to say, like, it literally went from my jaw to my tongue. My tongue kind of started cramping. And I remember I kind of looked up to kind of rub out like under my tongue. And as I did that, my neck started cramping. And I just, I've maybe had 4 or 5 neck cramps in my life, man. And I just kind of panicked, like, all right, neck's kind of cramping. So I'm sitting here trying to rub out the neck. And it just seemed like it just kept going on my body. Then like my pecs started kind of cramping. So I'm like trying to lay flat, and stretch my arms out so my pecs would cramp. And so then I could feel my erectors just kind of knotting up, like, you got to be kidding me. So of course, the first reaction a person has, when your erectors or when your back, is cramping, is you kind of lean forward. Well, I leaned forward, my abs started cramping, and it just literally made its way. It felt like I just went from tongue to toe. We got to, it was around, I want to say around 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock, and there's no joke. This is God's honest truth. My left quad started cramping around like 1:30, 2 o'clock, and it kept cramping the whole time. Like, everything else kind of subsided for a little bit, but the left quad, it just continually cramped the whole night. So much to the point that I got up out of the bed and I laid flat on the ground, just prostrate, just flat, and I mean, it was hardwood. So it's laid on the floor, just like maybe I just cool off and just kind of lay here for a little bit. And honestly, I don't really know where the time went. I mean, because I don't, how it is when you're not necessarily in pain, but when you're in a state of duress, like, you don't really think so much about everything. Feels like it takes forever, I'm sure I got a few Z's here and there, but I just don't necessarily remember sleeping. I just remember like thinking like, hey, I just got to get rid of these cramps and everything. We took a few potassium pills, hoping that would work. Even drank some soy sauce, hoping that would kind of kick in and work. Nothing really, seemed to work. And then I think the last few hours, it was just, calf cramps and glute cramps, and forearm cramps. They just kind of, it's kind of just spot cramps all the body. And then, kind of, finally kind of, relaxed for a little bit. Got up, went to weigh in. I slept the most I remember sleeping I slept more from the Airbnb to the weigh-in. And so got to weigh in and I felt like garbage, you know, and you know,
you looked rough.
Yeah, it was rough. It was a rough night. Weighed in and, you know, immediately started, you know, drinking and rehydrating as much as I could. And then I just started getting chills. Like I don't know what it was. I started getting chills, shaking, and you know, I'm talking teeth chattering chills. And the next thing I'll look up and people are giving me their warm-up jackets. So I mean my jacket, they wrap it around my feet, wrap it around my legs. At one point I remember Matt leaving and Sue's like, "Yeah, Matt, I want to go get you a blanket." I'm like, "Want to go get me a blanket?" That's all I really remember thinking. I'm like, I'm just gonna lay here, maybe relax for a little bit. I look up and Matt has a full hotel blanket. He had run to the hotel room to get me a blanket. I take that, they wrap it around me, and I slowly, you know, start warming up a little bit. And I'm still, you know, I'm taking in fluids, but of course, like I'm not really, you know, drowning myself with fluids. I'm just kind of taking in fluids over and over and over. You know, of course, Ross, you know, kind of talked to me, you know, seeing how I felt, you know, and seeing, you know, pretty much just kind of adjusting the strategy. And I really, you know, I mean, those that know me know how I live. Like I pretty much, you set your goals for what you want to do, and then you just kind of let the coaches make the calls, you know. And so it was pretty much like, hey, just, you know, let's just, I guess, warm up accordingly, you know, to how I'm feeling, and then, you know, we're just gonna make the calls. And so every call that they made throughout that whole meet was all just on the fly. It was just all based on how I felt, you know. I mean, and I just had my 3 signals. Like it felt good, pretty good, bad. That's it. You know, that the 3 signals, and that's pretty much how we rolled. I mean, and so I mean, the cool thing, you know, that I've kind of been able to, you know, develop with Ross and, you know, and with Matt and Susie is this, you know, throughout the process of them coaching me and, you know, being around them for so long is, you know, you have to be completely transparent and, you know, completely honest with how you feel. And so with Ross and myself, it's pretty much been that way since, you know, we started working together. So I'm just honest to how things feel, honest with how the numbers are going. So I mean, it's not, you know, nothing out of the ordinary. So, you know, a lot of lifters, I think you get to a point where, you know, you're hurting or you're in a bit of a bind. You don't necessarily want to tell your coach. You want to tell your, you know, your people like, hey man, I actually feel a lot worse than I'm letting on. You know, you put on this Oscar-worthy performance, like, oh no, I'm good, let's go out there, and then you go out there and you bomb out. So at that point, you know, it's one of those things like, hey man, this is what's happening. This is what happened, you know, last night. This is how I feel right now. And it's not like you can lie about it. You're sitting there shaking like a leaf in the wind, and, you know, have chills from head to toe, and, you know, you don't feel your best, and, you know, people are trying to, you know, get as many fluids in you as possible. And honestly, I just really didn't take into account the altitude, which it wasn't necessarily that high in the air, to be honest, in terms of altitude wise, but I did not at all take into account, even though I read it in the email twice, the climate and how, you know, how dry it was there. I'd been there for 2-3 days already, and I really didn't have much of an effect on me. I mean, I grew up in West Texas. It's arid, you know, it's dry. So I mean, I figured, oh, I can handle this. But apparently, my body it's very South Texas, and it's very used to humidity, because I guess that was just enough. It was just, I had been there just enough to turn my body into a raisin, and man, it was bad. So I mean, I honestly, the weird thing is I cramped up right until, you know, the bench. Once when we got to bench, if I finally started feeling better, and I finally kind of got rid of the cramps, and I feel like a lot of like the mustard that we were taking, a lot of the sodium and the potassium that we ingested, I feel like it finally started kind of kicking in. And then, you know, I guess we were ready to roll. But yeah, prior to weigh-ins and post-wins, right, for those first attempts, man, it was just cramp city the whole time, just cramps and chills, man. I'm telling you, I can't have an easy win. I can't have easy anything nowadays. It has to be full of adversity, you know. I guess, I don't know. I need to make greeting cards. I don't know. But yeah, it was. I
know you definitely had me nervous. You know, when you started kind of texting me the night before, and kind of led me to be a little bit concerned. And, you know, we wrapped up that conversation. Everything was good. We had our game plan figured out. And, you know, then you show up for weigh-ins, and I'm like, man, you are in rough shape. It's like you could see the dryness in your mouth and your lips, and you could hear it in your voice, and you weren't smiling. You know, you didn't have that happy LS smile that's always on your face. And
like, you know,
I remember there was a distinct point in time in the back warm-up room where I'm standing there and I'm like, man, I don't even think this guy's going to be able to lift weights. Like this is almost compromising the man's health. And you're sitting there like, man, there's worse. There's people dying out there. There's worse things. This is awesome. And I'm like, even though his face doesn't say it, his mind is still like, he's still there. He's still happy. This is a good thing. Here we go.
I'll tell you.
What do you do any like active positive work on how to like keep that mindset?
Honestly, man, I can't say that I do, and I can say that I don't. I guess the reason I could say I guess the side of do is that when I'm I guess when I'm training, when I'm in pain, man, I always think, I've always been in worse pain. There's never a pain that I've been in like, no, I've definitely felt worse. There's, and it's always temporary. I mean, most of this pain that we have is temporary, and is morbid as it's gonna sound. I promise you, it's not my intention to sound like a freak here, but the worst that can happen at that point is either I'm gonna hurt so bad that I'll pass out or I'll die. So, again, I'm happy with the life I've lived at this point. Not to say that I want to die when I'm lifting. Don't get me wrong, but I'm happy.
Oh man, I get where you're coming from. It's it's a football player's attitude. It's I don't know. It's the same thing, the same type of attitude. And I get that we sit here and we're all like chilling out and relaxing and have grown up a lot since the last time we played football. And so we understand that it sounds ridiculous, but there's still the mentality. There's still like part of you that it's like, I know this is ridiculous and I would never tell anybody else to believe this, but I still kind of believe it a little bit.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's almost like a warrior's mentality that's it's programmed into you. And, anybody that's ever really played, especially on a team sport, it's, I think it's reinforced because you're on a team. I almost feel like it's so super reinforced because you're on a team, and the whole idea behind camaraderie and the whole idea behind, selflessness and putting the team before yourself. You're willing to sacrifice. I guess the whole idea behind sacrifices for other people. And so when you are doing it such an individual sport as lifting is, in some respects, even though you are doing it individually, it's still you still have this locker room mentality in terms of like, hey, I mean, the worst is gonna happen is I'll pass out or I'll die, you know what I mean? But even then, I'm doing it for a greater good. I'm just, so I've always kind of had that in the back of my mind, kind of like you said, Mike. I mean, I always have in the back of my head, like, you know what? I mean, it can always be worse. And when you're lifting, you don't necessarily. If I am in a painful point, again, when I first started, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really know about rest. I didn't know about recovery. I just knew, go as hard as you can for as long as you can until you can't go anymore, and then you stop and rest, and then you do it again. And so my first few years of lifting, that's all I knew. So man, it was to a point, man, that I always tell a story. Like there was a point where I would be in so much pain that Steph would have to come in, and I didn't know anything about bicep tendonitis. I didn't know anything about just your body hurting that way. I just like, oh man, I feel like my elbows aren't working. I feel like I can't make a double bicep. I don't know what's going on. So she would come in and get my wrist wraps. I had an extra set of long SPD wrist wraps, and she would wrap them around my elbows just to kill the pain, just enough so I could grip the bar. And so there'd be times that I would get up under the bar and I was go ahead and lock in, and I would be on fire from head to toe, just hurting, man. Literal tears coming down my face, and she would get up under there and she would wrap my elbows while I was up under the bar. So then, all right, I'm locked in. I can't go anywhere. All I can do is squat. I mean, I could take the pain from waist down. I could take that, but it was the chest up pain that would always kill me because I couldn't really keep the bar on me. And I didn't know anything about bracing. I didn't know that your body wasn't supposed to bend in half and everything else when you're squatting, but I just knew this is pain, but I know it's going to go away. And so I would set my timer at 5 minutes. And so from the time I started that squat to the time I racked it, I would just go outside, I would lay on the ground, and the dirt parking lot, I would just lay on my back on the ground, and I would just wait for that timer. I'd wait for that timer, and that was my goal, is to wait for the timer. As soon as that timer goes off, that means the pain it'll be gone. And so I've been in some pain where, I mean, I know, like, I was, on the verge of blacking out, but all right, if I just make it to the timer, I'll be good to go. So in the back of my head, I always remember I've always had worse pain. There's people that have way worse pain than what I have, and so I've always kind of been that way. But here lately, I really try to think about the positives versus the negatives. Of course, the negative part is that, I'm parts of my body are hurting, or, I'm just for a temporarily high degree of pain. But at the same time, there's people out there that are dying. There's people out there that are starving. And I'm having this horrible time doing my first world sport, living in my first world country, in my $200 shoes with my $400 belt. And, I'm squatting with this weight set that's like $5,000. I think I'm doing okay. I'm having a bad day with, 10 grand, just throwing around 10 grand for fun. Let's get out of here. Like, you know what I mean? So I always try to keep in perspective of, where I was, as opposed to where I am, and also where other people are. I mean, what we're doing is a hobby. It's a super fun hobby. It's a super expensive hobby. In a lot of ways, this hobby pays a lot of our bills, and it's not only become a hobby, but it's become, our life, our livelihood, and part of a lifestyle. But at the end of the day, if somebody were to come and like, hey, powerlifting's awesome, but I'm taking it away, the only people it would matter to would be us. It would only matter to the people in that our particular subculture, in the powerlifting community. No one would miss it but us. And so I try to, keep in perspective. There's nothing that I'm doing that's like, I'm not necessarily, affecting the national GDP. I'm not, the government's not like, oh my God, did you see what those powerlifters did? The Dow just rose 5 points because powerlifters decided they're going to go with titanium instead of steel. Like, it has nothing, like we're out here having a good time, and it's really rooted in having a good time, and it's as barbaric and as machismo as it is, it's, the strongest man or woman standing across from the other strongest man or woman and seeing who's going to be the strongest out of the two. It's the strongest person at that point wins. That's it. So it's a game, dude. It's a game. And, we've been able to take this game and make it an awesome event or awesome events, but at the end of the day, it's a game. I'm going to see what I can do. I'm going to see what you can do. I'm going to try to beat you. And if I beat you, hey, I win, and that's it. So
do you have any, like, I don't even know what to call it, but I'm interested in, like, your self-talk. Like, I know one thing for me, when I'm in a situation that kind of sucks, it doesn't feel good. But, one thing I tell myself is that nobody cares. Like, nobody cares that you're tired right now. Get up and do this thing that you need to do. And so, like, for me, that works. Like, that's my self-talk, which is kind of weird because I would never say that to someone else. Like, I would take a different approach with that, but it works for me.
Right.
I don't know. You always tell everybody strength doesn't care.
Well, that at least puts it into, like, this mythical third person kind of thing, right? Like, well, go back to bed, but it's not going to make you any stronger, Well, or in my case, it might make me stronger if I actually got a full night's sleep. But
who sleeps anymore?
I guess the world now knows what Mike really means when he says strength doesn't care.
It means I don't care. Get up and do it.
I don't really. I mean, every now and again, honestly, it feels like it depends on the situation. I can definitely tell you it's situational. Like, I do a lot of self-talk. It's just.
I just didn't know if there was, like, one thing that stood out in your mind. I mean, for some people there is, for some people there's not. So.
Well, I mean, I mean, I always say the let's eat stuff to myself a lot. You know, but that's been, like I said, you know, when I tell people like that's been something I've honestly we're like in that stemmed from football. I mean, we've been saying that it's such a Texas thing, but we've been saying that since I was like 9, 10 years old.
Yeah.
It's always kind of been a part of who I am in my culture. Like, but the older I get, I feel like my self-talk, I should say my self-conversations, because I say so much stuff to myself, you know, when I'm, you know, with each passing rep, you know, I'm saying something, because that's, you know, I feel like I'm the type of person that my internal motivation is so, it really is kind of dependent upon the mood that I can create for myself. You know, you can have a ton of different, you know, mental cues that get you, you know, from point A to point B in your lifting. But for me, it's not necessarily going to be the lift, but it's just going to be that approach to the lift that if my attitude's in it before I get started, I'm good to go. And that's the hard part for me. It's just really, you know, mentally locking in. It's because I always have, you know, like kind of how we talked about earlier, you know, I feel like I'm always trying to think of the proper cues to have before I get going, you know, especially when I'm trying to work those cues and really trying to commit them to memory and, you know, get that muscle memory going. So a lot of times, you know, the self-talk is, you know, likely going to be the cues right before I walk up to the bar. And when I grip the bar, it's honestly whatever comes to mind, whatever's going to get me through that particular set. You know, sometimes I pray, you know, sometimes, sometimes I'll say you got to beat the man to be the man. That's something I say a lot to myself. Like, you got to beat the man to be the man. And even those days that you feel like you're the man, I mean, and everybody has those days like, oh, this is that workout. This is that one. This is that training session that sets, you know, that's set apart from all the other ones. Like, you always have that breakthrough one in your training block. Like, oh man, this one I was nervous about and I got through it. And, you know, it's either a PR, it's just, you know, whatever it is, it's just, you feel really good about it, you know, going to to that next day. And I'll have one of those. And usually when I have one of those, it might be, I think he had me doing like, I think I did like 640 for a triple. I had never done that before. And the last time I had touched anything over 630, 635, I think I tried, I think I did like 630 for I was trying to do 630 for 5, and I died on the first one. So that was my first time doing anything above that since actually I had gotten with RTS. So I hit it for the first one, felt good. Hit it for the second one, felt great. That third one felt better than the first. And I just remember I had to go to the bathroom and I just sat there. I just sat on the toilet like, oh man, you know, and they're like, where'd you go? Where'd you go? I'm like, I literally just had to sit on the toilet and then wrap my mind around, okay, I just did that. That was like, for me, that was the part of the training session where it kind of, you know, because you never really know. I'm like, you know, I've worked with Ross before, just kind of, he saw us helping with this and that. I'm like, all right, this is the first time I'm committing everything to you guys. Like, cool, RTS, let's go, let's do it. And everything had felt great, but I'm just like, well, am I just getting, placebo gains? Is this because I think it's going to work, or is this actually working? And when I got to that point, I'm like, oh, damn, this is working. And so I just had to go, Ross knows it real well. Like, I have to go somewhere and cry for a second, to kind of wrap my brain around it. So I had to go to the bathroom, cry for a minute, get my brain wrapped around what just happened. And then, came back out and I'm like, all right, cool, we're good. I had to do it again. So, but then when I remember before I touched the bar, I was like, all right, cool. That was my you're the man moment. But I'm like, you got to beat the man in order to be the man. So I got to do better than I did that previous set. So, for me, it's always kind of rooted in self-improvement, getting a little bit better than you were the last one. It's awesome being able to, to squat, high sixes, mid sixes, 700. That's always awesome. But in the back of my head, I'm always like, yeah, but remember David Ricks is like 12 years older and he's doing what you're doing for 5s and 6s. So you got to get on your horse. Let's go. So I always try to tell myself there's always somebody out there better. There's always somebody out there that has the potential to work harder than you do. So you gotta put it together. And and at the end of the day, man, like if you're gonna do it, why you can't half-ass do it. it's not even like at this level. To say at this level, I feel like that's really just corny. But you know, once you get to a point where you start taking anything that you do seriously, there's no point in doing it if you're not going to give 100%. You know what I mean? Like that's the one thing I do tell myself. I guess that is the standard self-talk I give myself. Like, don't step in this gym and not respect it. I tell myself that every single time I step in any gym to train. Like, you know, or I tell myself, are you here to train or here to work out? And for some reason, I just feel like I insult myself and I say, oh, I'm just here to work out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a bro. You know what I mean? Like, I have a goal in mind. My goal is to get better than I was last time. So why step in any gym? Why step on any platform? Why step, you know, sit down on any bench, get my, you know, my back under any bar if I'm not going to give 100% every single time. So, you know, it's out of respect. You have to respect the weight, respect the process, respect those that have come before you, and really, you know, really bust your ass. Because like I said, there's somebody out there that's willing to do what you're not willing to do. And, you know, they're more than willing to take what you have. They're more than willing to work just as hard as you are if you allow them to. So I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy. Just, you know, if you're gonna walk in my house, you're gonna have to get through me to walk in my house. I'm not just gonna open up the door and let you in. Like, I don't have dinner guests for a reason. So I really, it's the truth, man. It's
not because you don't cook.
No. Food in my house is for me to eat. You know what I mean? So I just feel like there's a certain bit of respect that you have to have for the process. And if you don't, why do you do it? You know, and I feel like that hard work is, you know, it's a definite, you know, sign of respect, you know, for the work, for the people that, you know what I mean? Like, even to the point of, you know, if any person's going to take the time, they're going to invest any time and effort into me getting stronger. They're going to invest any time and effort into me getting better. I have to have the respect, you know, for them. You know, it's something as simple as, you know, hey man, he took the time to send me this program to make sure that I'm ready to roll. You know, he sent it to me on a Saturday. Most of the time I've always got them on Sunday right before it's time to go. So I have an extra 24 hours to process what I have to do before it's time to go in. That's crazy. That is, for me, that's the craziest thing. I'm used to getting them on Sunday. I'm like, oh, so now I have a full 24 hours, a full 24 hours to think about, oh shit, man, it's coming. It's coming. So I have to wrap my mind around it. And so I have a full 24 hours to think of how I'm going to try to make sure that my head's in a neutral position, that, you know, that I'm actually bracing the right way. I'm telling you, man, but that's the thing. I love doing it. I love being a part of it. I love what the sport, you know, what it brings out of you. And I love what it, you know, what it can do, what it's capable of doing, you know. And so it's funny because the only escape I have, believe it or not, I feel like it's made me even a better coach, because the only way I don't think about it is I make sure that I program for my people, make sure they're like, that's the one time that I'm not thinking about, oh dude, Monday's coming. It's coming. It's coming. You know, so again, all of that is a part of kind of my pre-lifting, my self-talk. I mean, for me, it's such a process. I should have just said it's a process. Like, there's so many things that I do. I just, you know, I wish I could just, you know, boil it down. Hey, no one cares. I would love to.
Well, I mean, of course, that's not the only thing that's going through my head either. But I like what you said is really indicative of the mentality that you bring to your training, which is, you know, like I listened to the interview that you did with Juggernaut, Chad and Max, and you got a chance to talk a lot about the mentality that you bring to competing. And I'm sure a lot of people listening to this won't have listened to that, but tough. You have to go back and listen to both of them now. But I just think it's interesting, like, how you can put those two together. You know, like in training, it sounds like the mentality is very serious, and I don't know, you approach it like training, you know, and then competing is a much lighter time. It's a happier time. It's more, just lighter, right?
Yeah.
I got it about right?
Oh yeah, I take my, and again, I take, I have a great time. I mean, you're gonna have the people that train in my gym. I'm cracking jokes. I mean, and we have Disney days where all I play is Mulan, and we play.
Oh, man.
My deadlift day. Most of the time, 9 times out of 10, my deadlift days is probably gonna be Disney themed. It's some Disney song. If I play Disney hits, just I mean, you don't get a choice of what they play at the at the meet. And for me, I just Disney puts me in a good mood. There's times that we only listen to stand up. It's just complete stand up the whole time in the gym. And the thing is, the people in my gym's real. It's just an awesome place it's an awesome environment, but it's pretty much who has auxiliary, they pick whatever, and right now, like if you're the big dog at the gym, like you get aux rights. That's it. That's how it works. So, if I get big dog status that day, guess what? I get the aux, and I'll play whatever I feel like. But if somebody's moving more weight than I am, then it's tradition. Like, hey man, you're the big dog in the gym today. Here, the aux is yours, and they have the option whether or not you can keep it or they take it. So for me, I just they don't. I listen to so many different things. Sometimes it's just straight Toto. I'll play Africa for 30 repeats, but that'll be the only song we listen to, or it'll just be 80 hits, Cyndi Lauper, it'll be Madonna. I don't care. So we listen to a lot of stuff. We keep it light. Like I said, sometimes it's sometimes I'll just throw on a series from Netflix. We'll just listen to the audio. But regardless of what I'm listening to, I feel like the weight has to be moved, regardless. So I take the training portion seriously. I mean, but then, when you think about it, you only spend a small portion really of your training time under the tension, under the weight, and you spend a majority of that time actually resting in between sets. And that's when, that's when that's when all the hang out, that's when the hanging out and all that stuff happens. But then, but when it's time to get it going, I feel like I've just learned to turn on that switch. And again, a lot of that is it's just kind of how I've always been. I'm when I ran track, I was the same way. When I played football, I was the same way. I always had a good time. I always enjoyed practices, but then when it was time for my reps, then, you go from, it's like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde moment where it's just, you turn the switch on and it's go time. And then, you turn it off again and you go back to whoever you are, and I feel like with squat, bench, deadlift, I feel like I do it, I just enjoy the moment, when I'm out there. Cause like I said, and again, this is just my opinion. If you have a coach and if you're in a system that's worth a damn, you're going to be put under some pressure. You're going to be put under some tension. You're going to be put under some very uncomfortable situations, in your training. And you're supposed to be. It's not supposed to be the most comfortable thing. It's not supposed to feel like, oh man, I'm having such a good time. If I were ever to go in the gym and in between the time I started to the time I end, not have a drop of sweat or not have a grunt or not feel like, dude, this guy's trying to kill me, then I feel like am I really being pushed, to the maximum ability so that I can get better? It doesn't necessarily always have to be, a high percentage. It can be, 70, 80%, but me working my technique, over and over and over, you're going to feel something. If you're not feeling something, you're not putting forth the technique. You're not putting forth the effort to reinforce that technique. You're not listening, and you're definitely not trying. So, even, I used to look at RPE 7s like, oh, this is going to be cake. This is going to be cake. Now, I'm more afraid of RPE 7s than I am of 9s. I'm talking, I'm talking day and night, because in the back of my head, I can hear Ross like, those 7s, you got to make sure your technique is flawless. You got to make sure you're on point with that technique. And it hurts. I feel like it hurts so much more, because if I see a 7, that means like I'm going to be doing at least 5 reps. And I've got to make sure that every one of the 5th rep is going to have to be just as good, if not better than that first. That 7th rep is going to have to be just as good, if not better than that first. If I have to go 10 reps, that 10th rep is going to hurt so much worse than that first hit, but it's got to look exactly the same, if not better. And so I see those RPE 7s. I'm like, oh shit, dude. All right, here we go. And I dive into it. I do it. I don't even ask questions. I think at the beginning I kind of asked a few questions like, dude, but it's a 7. I mean, no big deal, but the more I, the more I started listening, the more I started like paying attention to like what he was saying in terms of like, you've got to make sure that you're focusing on the technique. These, those are really technical, those are the ones that you really, you kind of burn the technique into your brain and really start getting those going. Whew, now when I see that 7, it's a way different. I approach it differently than I did before. And with those 9s, I'm almost relieved when I see a 9, because I know it's probably not going to be that many reps. And if it is, I should be able to knock this out very nice and very smooth because of all the work that I've done from 7 to 8, So it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Training is fun. It sucks, but it's fun. So when I get to the meet, it's like, man, been doing, and again, don't get me wrong, I will never knock an opponent ever. But I've won with, I've literally won with weight that I double, triple, quad, done for 5s, which is crazy. There's, my third squat, that's normally an RP 7, RP 8, and I'm like, all right, cool. There was nothing that I my last couple of wins that I've done that I'm like, oh man, I had nothing left in the tank or in training, but then again, training is way different than competition. So when you get to competition, you don't know how your body is going to be. You just know that all the work that you did in training has prepared you for that moment. So it didn't, for me, thank God I didn't know what the weight was, because I probably would have been embarrassed, but not knowing what the weight is and just being able to go out there and just, being able to execute, that's huge for me. So, having Ross there, having Susie and them there, that's great. But like I said, having a guy that knows you, just a little bit better than the heads, that helps, because then you go out there and he knows how I'm feeling. He knows my pattern. He knows what my body does. He knows what it doesn't do. So when I walk out there, I have 100% confidence that whatever was called, not only is it within my wheelhouse to be able to do, but it's within my wheelhouse to do it in a very effective manner. And he's not setting me up for for failure. So it's nice. It's nice being able to go into competition knowing that you have so many people that have your back. How can you not have fun? I don't feel any pressure. I just like, hey man, it's just time to go lift now. You know what I mean? Like I have to. This is a guy that I know and love, and he's got my best interest at heart. You know what I mean? My girl's back there. She loves me. Freaking Matt and Susie are back there. They love me. And freaking I look up and I see Bryce yelling at me when he should be resting. I'm like, oh, this is great. This is a great time. So, yeah, you get the competition. It's all execution based. I just have to do what I'm told. That's it. No more, no less. So, yeah, it's such a fun time because I've already sweated. I've already been pissed off. I've already cried. I've already thrown up. I've already cramped up and been in all that pain, all the training leading up to platform. So when I get to platform, it's like, wait a minute. So I don't have to do sets of 5 and I don't have to do sets of 10. And, I have 9 lifts. That's it. Oh, I see the light at the end of the tunnel before I even get started. This is perfect. So now all I have to do is go out there and execute, do what I'm told, and I'm good. So it's just, for me, it's just a long, it just feels like it's so long to get competition done for 9 lifts. But, let's be honest, it's a hell of a time. And while you're in the moment, it seems like it's taking forever. You look back, once you get to that final deadlift, like, dude, where did this meet go? They go by so fast. So, and I'm not the only one doing it. I just want to be, I may not win the meet, but I'm definitely going to win the award for the guy that has the most fun. I'm going to have a blast doing it. Because I know, I feel like I have far less meets in front of me than I do behind me. You know what I mean? I feel like, you get to a point where you start realizing like, hey man, clearly you can keep performing at a super high level, but to perform at a super high level, and go pain free, that's damn near impossible. And then at the same time, you have to think to yourself, like, what is it smart to just keep banging out meets over and over and over? And let's be smarter about the selection and everything else. So yeah, I try to, I'm trying to be smarter about, the meets that I do and smarter about just, how I treat my body, which, I feel like I've done a way better job in the last couple of years. So when I get to these meets, it's just, I think I enjoy it because you never know when it's your last meet. You know what I mean? Like, again, not to sound, kind of out there like that, but you never know. Like, this might be my absolute last meet. That might have been the last time I ever stepped foot on the platform. The next meet might be the last one. I mean, your next meet is always that meet closer to your last meet. So I try to enjoy it so much, not saying that, I'm retiring, I'm done, but I mean,
you never know when that's going to happen, though, and that's something that I think even just thinking about it helps prepare you for when that happens, because not everybody's in our situation where you compete and take it so seriously for so long, right? And that's fine. But if you are one of these people that lives it, and it becomes part of who you are, and you have to understand that someday that will end.
Yes.
And that can't come as a surprise, like we know that that's coming. And I think you don't have to dwell on it. You don't have to, you don't have to get upset about it or anything like that. But it's just what you're saying. Just know that this is a temporary thing, that someday you're going to be as strong as you're ever going to be. And that's going to be it.
Yeah. And we're street athletes. It's totally performance based, and your performance at some point, performance is going to drop off. It has to. And, that's just how it works. And you get out of the way and you make room for the next person coming in. And I think people forget, they forget that they're human, and they forget that, we're finite beings. And at some point you hit a point where you can't go anymore. And you, instead of sticking around too long, you can always voluntarily kind of move out of the way for the next wave to come in, because, I mean, as bad as it sounds, I mean, it's going to happen whether you like it or not. Either you can walk away, walk away, or you're forced out, and it's sad to see those people, not necessarily forced out, but it's sad to see those people that have to leave, or they're on top at one point and then they just stuck around too long, or they just never got the hint, or they got hurt, God forbid. And, so it's, you see it, and, a lot of times those same people that either force out, or, either they leave by purpose or on force, those that leave by force, for whatever reason, some of them never touch a weight again. They never lift again. They're so, hardened by it, they're hurt by it, and, they don't want to deal with it anymore. And I mean, I certainly don't want that to be me. I don't want that to be anybody for that matter. But, I know that, that's just how it is. And I think a lot of it's just because I've played other sports, and it's one of those things where you hit a point where, all right, cool, I've done as much as I can do. Now it's time to move on. What's the next chapter? And you don't really dwell on it, like you said. You just kind of like, what's coming, and when it comes, you're not necessarily caught by surprise. You're saddened a little bit, but like, all right, cool, what's next? So it's not a bad thing, it's just one of those things. It's kind of a part of that circle, the circle of an athlete's life, and you have a great time, and then you move on. I don't know. I think I get really excited about these meets. Like I said, I think I was telling Ross before, even before Worlds, like, this is, I don't know that I'd ever been so excited for a meet. I was just excited to go lift. I didn't have the greatest Arnold, but I was just super excited. I had been excited for Worlds for some time, once because it was in Canada, and I'm like, I think this would be awesome to go. And then when I got the invite, I'm like, oh, this is definitely gonna be exciting to go. And then when initially, he's like, well, I don't know if I'll be able to make it. And then out of the blue, he's like, yeah, I think I can make it. I'm like, oh man, this is lining up. And then, like I said, having him there, and then Ben Escrow being there, like, that's my first coach. Like, oh crap, he's gonna be there. Like, it was. Honestly, if ever there were a meet that I just, man, it was just one of those times where I'm like, man, I could not have written out a better guest list, if you will, to have at me. Like, all my favorite people, like, you were there, Eric was there, freaking everybody that I believe it or not, like, everybody that I've really, really looked up to in this sport was all in one room at one time. And I think before, it was one of those things where I didn't really know the guys. I just knew of a few of the guys, or I didn't know Ben when I first saw him. I didn't know him, and believe it or not, I've known Ross longer than anybody, pretty much. So it's weird to, to kind of come full circle. Like all these guys that I wanted to meet, like I said, like you and Matt Gary and Susan and everybody, they're all in one room. And these people that I wanted to know who they are now, like, these guys are my friends now. So it's completely different. I wanted to meet Ben for the longest. Ben used to be my coach, and Ross was this, Ross is this lightweight guy. I was like, dude, I really like that guy. I was like, man, I used to tell my coach, like, dude, that guy with the beard, I think he's like an Alaskan beard or something. I don't know. But then, circle back to Calgary, and I'm like sitting there and I'm thinking, like, this couldn't be a more cool spot to be in my life, in terms of just being a lifter and everything. And I'm literally 5 years older, and my body feels like it's 20 years older, but it's just we're all older. I feel we're all older, we're all wiser, we're all at different points in our lives, and it's it's just a cool spot to be in, and like I said, it's just, those moments, like, you have to enjoy, like, again, don't get me wrong, it's awesome being a platform, but again, I think I was just as excited to be able to just be in that situation, to be in that moment and see all my friends, see everybody do well, and, and watch everybody win and watch everybody just, people were like, I don't know that I've ever seen the U.S. as dominant as it was. That was just awesome, just to watching how dominant, like, all the teams were. And, it was just a cool time to be there. It's a great time to be alive. It's a great time to be a lifter. But I think more so for myself, it was just cool to be around all my friends at one time. And, I didn't have to even lily pad back and forth. I just got to see everybody. So that was real cool. I guess I think why I'm so excited about the EPC, to be honest with you, because I'm like, I get to see my friends again, Yeah,
and plus you don't have the added pressure of having to make weight at the EPC, right?
Oh no. This is so fun. I should yell at her until I come in here. I told Steph when I went to the store and I came back, I was like, it was weird because at one point it's just memory, it's just muscle memory. So when you're so used to your scheduling, I walked in the grocery store, I went to go get some eggs and everything, and I'm walking back. I forgot Pedialyte. I just remember I leave. I know my brain is like, hey, you leave to go international. Anytime I've ever gone international, it's like, oh, I got a meet coming up. It's like, oh, let's make sure we get Pedialyte. So I just automatically turned it to the infant aisle. I was looking at Pedialyte. Wait, what am I doing? I don't even need Pedialyte. I'm just going to. I just gotta go talk. So yeah, that was I don't know, man. So it's just a lot of fun, man. Like I said, more than anything, man. Between just the lifting and the training and the competition and everything else, man, I feel like, once you're in this community and you kind of like you said, you start taking it very, very seriously, and you start taking, your competitive nature obviously kicks in, and you start, really committing, your life to it. A lot of the fun parts of it can easily be lost because you get so wrapped up into the output of it all. You forget just to smell the roses, enjoy the ride, man. And I think the more I do this, the more the sweeter the ride gets, and the more awesome it gets, and the more the time and efforts you invest into these friendships, I start making more of an effort to try to get, rather than, oh, Mike T, the RTS, Mike T, man, you know how many championships this guy has? Like, when I started getting to know who you are as a person, I'm like, oh wow, he has a family.
Yeah.
How's your family doing? And to even be able to be at a level with anybody, friendship wise, that you can even ask about their family, how they're doing, and not only ask about it, but actually know what they're talking about, and know, who they're referring to.
Yeah, right.
That's man, dude. I think that's been without a doubt my most favorite part. Or when Ross, we'll talk, and we'll talk training for maybe 5-10 minutes, and then the other 45 to an hour is just, hey, so how's life? Oh, so when you're driving, hey, you get those walls painted? All right, good. Have you sold your house yet? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you get to know them. You get to know these people, and just you get to know them personally, not just professionally. And when you're able to separate that professional part of them from the personal part of them, and you start getting to know more about them, maybe 30-40% of them as a professional, and you start getting to know that other 60% of them as a person. man, it makes a world of difference. And so you start investing more time and efforts in concerns and love and emotion into their well-being, you know, as you do with anybody else. And that, for me, that's made a world of difference. I feel like that's kind of, for me, that's been the key for me as a lifter, is that, you know, the more emotion and the more heart and the more love I put into the sport, I feel like that's when everything started changing. You know, I stopped thinking so much about myself and started making everyone else the priority. And it's been crazy, because I feel like I've gotten so much more out of it than I did before. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, man. I can't even.
No, that's another thing that I wanted to. Sorry, echoing a little bit. Go away. But that's another thing I wanted to ask you about, and you've touched on it a couple times actually, just about respect in general, respect for the process, respect for the history, and it reminds me of a conversation that you and I had at the EPC last year. We were talking about, wouldn't it just a component of competing in powerlifting that we feel like is maybe gotten lost a little bit is the connection between generations of lifters. You know, like one story that, or something that I remember from competing at, say, U.S. Nationals, you know, back in the day, is it was a lot smaller meet. But one thing that we did is, after the competition, a lot of times a bunch of us would just end up sitting in the lobby at the hotel and just hanging out and talking for hours even, you know. And it wasn't planned, it wasn't structured, there wasn't anything like, it just happened, you know. And that's a thing that doesn't seem like it happens as much now, or maybe it's because it's grown so much, it's fractured a bit. But that's something that I think would be cool to get back to.
Yeah, man, I would like, we had talked about it for a while, like trying to get to a banquet or something just afterwards. Like I really like how, you know, how they do it at, you know, in Canada. You know, they had the party and everything afterwards. You know, I mean, it's not like it's not possible. That's the thing, because I mean, you know, you have well over 1,000 lifters at, you know, at Worlds, but they still manage to have a banquet, even if, you know, it could be something completely unofficial. But just, you know, just being able to you know, bridge those gaps, man, because there's such a gap, you know, in, you know, there. And to be honest, you know, they're really, I think powerlifting is a very unique sport in that there really is not a set bridge in terms of old school versus new school, or the young guys come in with old guys, because people just come in at whatever, you know, just whenever. You know, you got a guy that he could be, you know, like I started in my early 30s, you know, and I was as green as anything, you know, and you know, I'm walking around like, you know, I've just now got to the point where I feel like, all right, I kind of belong now. I feel like I'm not necessarily one of the boys yet, but I'm working, I might be able to, sit at I can sit at the teenagers table now. I can't quite sit at the big boys table, but I'm not at the kiddies table yet. So
about that.
It's one of those things where it's hard to really bridge. I mean, you know, old versus new. It's just like, hey man, you just got in, awesome. You're 35, all right, cool. You just now discovered that you shrunk, all right, cool. But you get a lot of these younger ones coming in. I mean, I just feel like it's the social media versus non-social media, you know, gap, you know, and really that's the only way that I've been able to kind of break it down, just because you have those that, you know, you didn't necessarily have social media. So a lot of these guys don't know, like, unless you have to really do your research to figure out, like, don't get me wrong, Ed Cohen is, you know, he's a GOAT, cheese and rice. He's one of the greatest that ever touched the bar. But there's a lot of guys out there that moved a lot of heavy weight, you know, like Ed wasn't the only one, you know. It's kind of like people forget, like, I mean, Michael Jordan he's one of the greatest that ever did it, but, you know, y'all forget, like, you know, Dominique Wilkins played, and, you know, and freaking, yeah, like Rick Mahorn, and you had Isaiah Thomas, you had, you know, Magic Johnson, there was a bunch of amazing players that played at the same time. But, you know, it's easier to find those guys than it is in powerlifting. But there's tons of guys out there that move just as much weight, and you know, with powerlifting, it's such a word of mouth type thing. Like, oh yeah, Ed, man, did you ever see Gene Bell though? Or, you know, do you ever see Kirk? Do you ever see that? You know what I mean? Like it's such a word of mouth thing, you know? And so for me, it was like, wait a minute, well, who are these guys they're talking about? You know, and that's, you know, the cool thing that you can still do is you can still kind of go and look online and find a lot of those old, you know, meet cards and find a lot of those old, you know, competitions that have gone on, and you just have to look the guys up, you know. And it's, you know, it's crazy to, you know, to think that, you know, I mean, I was telling a lot of my clients, like, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, we're strong right now, but those guys were just as strong, if not stronger. It's just that Raw wasn't a thing. You know what I mean? Like, that's a part that, you know, it's hard to wrap my mind around. And don't get, you know, I mean, people are moving weight. I'll be the first to admit, we have guys out there that are moving tons and tons and tons of weight. But I think to myself, you know, I mean, you look at a lot of these numbers from back in the day, like these guys were moving just as much weight. And, you know, you look at, I actually got to see I think it was a single. I think it was like the guy had like an 83, 84, the singlet that he had. And it was, I guess, his squat suit, I guess, whatever you want to call it. I'm like, wait a minute, I have an old Titan suit that's tighter than that thing. Like, what? So this was, you know, and then you see his wraps, these crappy H bandages. I'm like, I'm pretty sure my SPDs have more support than those things. So then it puts in perspective, like, these guys are really moving weight, you know, and so it's, you know, and, you know, they're squatting in Chuck Taylors and you know, Converse and everything else. I'm like, listen, if it's not a $200 Nike squat shoe, I can't do it. I refuse. Like, I'm, you know, so first world about it. So, you know, for me, it kind of put in perspective. I'm like, man, don't get me wrong. I mean, I don't think that I'm weak, but I definitely feel like if a lot of those guys were still around lifting raw, we would be, I mean, we could be like top 10. I don't think we could be podium spots. At least I'm honest enough to admit it, you know. So, you know, it's crazy to, you know, it's crazy to think that, you know, there's so many more people that have come before us that moved way more weight than we did, you know. But I feel like it's gonna, I mean, and I don't mean to step on people's toes, but I feel like they did it the right way. You know, I mean, in some respect, when when you're lifting, it is, you know, it is kind of ego based, and it is kind of a, hey, look at me, let me go to this meet, show you like how strong I am compared to everyone else. But it seems like those guys, if you talk to a lot of those old timers, you know, they're not like us in that, hey, you see this, you see me do this, you see me do this. They're really big on, you know, oh, remember that one meet that we did this, and hey, you did this, and we did this, and you did that. Like, when the coolest time, if you ever get a chance, and I'm sure you guys probably have, is sit and talk with David Ricks and Anthony Harris. Man, and just let them talk and just listen to them. And the way they refer back to each other, like, you know, they'll talk about themselves for maybe 10, 15 seconds and then go, but remember when you did this and you remember that, hey, and remember that's when so-and-so pulled for blah, blah, like they talk about each other. So for me, I think it was when we were in Scranton and, you know, in that back room we were talking and they were talking with those stories. That really kind of piqued my interest and really made me start thinking about, man, let me look up some of these guys that we're talking about. Let me kind of, you know, do a little bit digging and find out about these guys. And then you start seeing these names that, you know, you don't necessarily hear about nowadays, but, you know, they were big names back in the day and they've moved all this crazy weight and, you know, you don't really hear about them as much because we're such a, you know, what have you done for me lately type society now. And so for me, it got me thinking like, well, you know, I know that, you know, the day's going to come when I'm done and, you know, it's humbling, but it's also just reality. Like, you'll be forgotten, you know, and that's fine and dandy. You know, I mean, you're not necessarily supposed to last forever, but, you know, it just kind of put things in perspective. Like, you know what, you know, let me try to make more of an impact with, you know, through respect and through, you know, trying to impact this culture than I am in terms of just lifting weights. You know, I can only lift weights for so long, but, you know, in terms of dealing with people and meeting people and befriending people and trying to grow this sport as much as we possibly can, you can do that for as long as you breathe. So, you know, don't get me wrong, I've been blessed in that I'm surrounded by, I have a great team of people that are just, invested just as much in my success as I am theirs and I am my own. So, I always consider myself sitting pretty, and it's not like it, wasn't something that I didn't work for. I worked my butt off to get to this point, and I did everything that you can do wrong before you get to this point, and I did everything on my own for the longest thing, and that was the only way I can get there. And not realizing, the only success I've ever had as a person was, with my teams. I've always, been such a team-oriented person, so I have a great team of people that want me to do well, and so for me, I'm like, well, I think that's the key. That's the key. That's the ticket. Instead of making this, USAPL and IPF and USPA and IPL and SPF and ABCD through whatever. Instead of making everybody like, oh, well, you do your thing, I'll do my thing. Why not just, hey man, we're all doing the same thing. We're all just trying to get stronger. However your means is, you're trying to get stronger, and we're not a bunch of individuals fighting, but rather like we're all on the same team. We're all just trying to get stronger, and we're all just trying to have fun. And whatever your version of fun is, and lifting, that's your version. But we're all just having fun. We're all squatting and benching and deadlifting, the same weight, and let's just have fun with it instead of trying to make it this big competition amongst people. And so that's really been my goal is, really trying to make it more of a team, because I feel like if I was the world's greatest, individual in terms of like, I can do it by myself. I don't need anybody. And if I can change my brain to being on some like, hey man, look, if I get this team, I feel like I can do a lot better. I feel like if I can do it, anybody can do it. So rather than try to do it on a small scale, I'm just trying to do it on a larger scale in terms of, how I relate to people, how I talk to people, how I deal with people, respect for the generations that came before, respect for those that are here now. Because I feel like we're in a position right now, myself, you, Ross, I feel like we're in a position now that you have enough people that won't say that necessarily look up to you, but have enough influence amongst people in terms of your actions and what you do and how well you do it, that, people can follow your lead. And if your lead is based, on respect, and if it's based on, the betterment of another person, the betterment of the sport, I feel like we'll be in a way better position than we are right now. And I just feel like, a lot of times we miss the boat, especially with the popularity that powerlifting has right now. It's such an easy way to grow the sport in a positive manner. Because most of the time when stuff like this grows, exponentially, it doesn't necessarily grow for the better. You know what I mean? It's just the truth. Most times it grows, but it doesn't necessarily, grow for the betterment of your fellow man. So while we have an opportunity, I feel like we can easily make it, make the growth more of a positive manner just by how we treat each other. So, yeah, I really try to be as respectful as possible, man, and show respect to my coaches, show respect to my fellow competitors, and just the sport in general. Because it's just like I said, if somebody were to decide for it not to exist anymore, it would only matter to us. So if it matters that much to me, then I need to treat it like it matters, and so I want to give, I try to give that off, to the people that I deal with, the people I talk to. Like if it doesn't matter to me, then, why would I expect it to matter to someone else? But if it does matter to me, then it should matter to the people that I surround myself with, and, and it should show in the way that I approach it. So that's really all I really try to do, man. All in all, when it all boils down to it, I just try to respect it. I try to just show as much respect for as possible. While I have the opportunity and influence to do so.
Well, LS, at least for me, I'm going to be running out of time here in a minute. But before we wrap up, I had something else I wanted to ask you. It's really more as it relates to your future plans and whatnot. And you mentioned kind of being a little on the fence about bench nationals and raw nationals and stuff like that. Do you have any plans to go back to Belarus?
Oh man, right now, you know what? I can honestly tell you, I hadn't really thought that much about it. I actually talked about it a little bit in a podcast that I did earlier. As of right now, I don't see myself going back. Just again, for me, it's just I try to just make it simple. There's right and wrong, straight up. There's just right and wrong. And for me, I don't feel it's right. I just don't feel it's right. That's it. I mean, no knock on IPF, no knock on the people of Belarus, no knock on the competition. It was an awesome competition. I won my first world championship there, and I'll forever remember it with like fondly. But as of right now, I just don't see myself going back. I don't, if I were, I'll put it this way: if I lost someone there, and I saw, I saw the team that they were related with going back, I would be hurt. I would really, really be hurt. And I just feel like out of respect for the situation, out of respect for, those involved, I just don't feel that it's right. I just don't feel like it's right to go back to a place. Not so soon.
So there was that incident too, which I don't feel like got as much attention as it deserved in our community.
I definitely would chime in and say I don't think it got nearly enough attention because, in all honesty, the first time I heard about any of it was like a week after Worlds when they announced that they're going to go back to Belarus or whatever, and I seen somebody post that on social media. I was like, "What? What happened?" I had no idea.
Back up for a second, in case
it's mind-boggling that the community doesn't know about it.
Yeah, so let's back up for a second. And I'm gonna. You can Google it and find the reported facts. So in case I mess any of this up, if you're interested in verifying the story, then by all means please do, because I'm going off memory here. But it was a guy who was there to support a family member of his who was lifting in the Masters competition, who basically was killed at the meat hotel. He fell off the roof, which there's some even more suspicious circumstances kind of around that, right? So that's kind of the 15-second version of that story that we're referring to. But yeah, it happened while we were there during the competition, and we all just kind of went on our way, and we're going back. Or IPF Worlds is going to be back there in another year or two, couple years, something like that. I don't have a date on hand.
And then after that, I guess they're going back. So I don't know. It just meant it just doesn't. For me, it just doesn't. It doesn't feel right. I mean, and I told my dad about it, and he's like, "Well, I mean, it's one of those things where, if you don't feel right about it, you don't feel right about it, and it's you don't have to go back if you don't want to go back, But I don't know. It would. I don't know, and even while I didn't have the greatest of times when I was there. I had to had a few problems while I was there in Belarus anyway. But it really. It's a hard trip, first of all, just to get there, just to go through all the stuff to get there. But I don't know, man.
That's really when I brought this up, that was really my intention, was to ask you about that.
Oh man, no, I'm telling you, I would, and I don't know if I don't.
Have you talked about that? Or did you want to talk about what happened to you while you were there?
Oh yeah, we can.
This comes up, believe it or not, this comes up for me pretty much every time the topic of Belarus comes up. But I can't tell the story like you can.
Oh my gosh, man! I'll try to give the PG version. So basically, I'm getting ready to leave Belarus because that, believe it or not, I'm gonna blame it on Danny. I'm gonna blame it on Danny and people at EPC. It's their fault because I was ready to go home. I was good to go, and I was intercepted, and I was actually invited to go to speak at EPC after Belarus, and the timing was absolutely perfect afterwards. I had to stay one more day though, so I had to stay an additional day, which is fine. So go to the hotel, let them know, hey, I'm gonna stay one more day. Got my ticket changed and everything. I'm good to go. At least I think. So I go to the airport, and they actually told me at the hotel, like, hey, you're gonna have to get your visa extended by 1 more day, which is fine. So I go to the you can either go to the embassy, and at the time the embassy was closed, or you can get it done at the airport. So of course, airport was my only option. So go to the airport, and at the time, she's getting ready to fly home, and so I'm at the airport trying to get things changed. Mind you, all of my stuff is still in my hotel room because I'd already had it extended. So I'm just going in there to just get my visa extended for 1 more day. So the lady says, after about 15, 20 minutes of trying to find somebody to talk to, call the embassy, and the embassy, yeah, there's a place down in the airport that you can get it done. Fine. So she proceeds to take me to this guy. This guy broke English, like passport, visa down here. So I go to this back, I don't know, this back hallway, go down 3 flights of steps, like down to like this little room, and it just says, it says immigration. Is all it says on this wooden plaque above the door. And so I sit down next to these two American guys, and they have a guy who's a Russian, and he interpreted Russian and I guess Belarusian or whatever. And so we're sitting there and everything, and so they call me in, and the guy's like, basically asking me what I need. I can understand them, so I go get the interpreter. Get the interpreter, tell him, hey, I need an extra day. And so we see going back and forth. So eventually the guy's like, why are you here? And I was here for a powerlifting meet. I got to go to Dublin. And so I even show him the trophy, because at that time, Matt Zeus, they gave me the men's trophy. So I show him that. I show him my powerlifting medals and everything, and show him the thing on my phone where, the powerlifting meet. So he seemingly understands. Next thing I know, the guy's like, well, how much money do you have? And so I found that kind of funny. I'm like, how much money do I have? So I was like, I only have $20. And basically, the guy's like, that's not enough. And that's not enough. So I'm like, all right, by that time I'm starting to, there's a few more events that happen in between there. I'm trying to keep it PC, but by that time I felt like, all right, I feel like I'm kind of getting a shakedown. At least where I'm from, I know what a shakedown feels like. So I go outside, get on the phone, and I call the embassy, and the people at the embassy, the lady tells me, she goes, you have to ask them for a list. There's an actual list of costs of how much it costs. She goes, it'll end up being, I forget how many rupees or whatever, but it's pretty much the equivalent of like $15 American to have your visa extended for 1 additional day. Plus, here's the thing, my visa didn't run out until 12 a.m. that night, and it was 3 p.m. So it's what hadn't even run out. And the thing is, I flew out at like 6 a.m. So I just needed really for a 6-hour extension. So I go back in and I asked for the paper, and the guy, he gets pissed. So he starts yelling and going crazy. Mind you, they had already taken my passport from me, and so I'm looking at his buddy in the corner with my passport. He never looks up from his computer. He's just steady looking at his computer the whole time. And the guy started yelling and yelling and yelling. Again, you don't have to know a lot of English, just like you don't have to know a lot of different, you don't have to know Spanish to know the curse words. But I've heard enough curse words. I'm like, all right, this guy's got one more time, dude. He's got one more time. And I honestly, I'm looking up. I don't see a camera in sight in this room. Like, how are we going to be an official government, a government, entity, and you don't have one camera? You have this Apple IIc computer in front of you. I'm like, wait, it just looks sketchy. And the more uncomfortable I feel, the more, I guess, I feel bad saying it, the more street I start feeling. Like, all right, listen, we're going to take this back home real quick. Like, so this guy starts, he loses cool, and the next thing I know, I stand up. I will tell you what I told him. But I said a few choice words to the guy. His tone completely changed. So this guy goes from lying to, and I want to say sheep real quick, fast, in a hurry. I walk over. I say a few choice words to his buddy. I don't even ask for my passport. I rip my passport off the dude's desk. And I'm sure the guy's like, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. I said another few choice words to the guy. Because I'm like, they're trying to detain me. Come to find out, I walk outside after I get all my stuff, and I'm talking to the American guys. It goes, yeah, they just charged us. One guy had to pay, I think he had to pay $450 one guy had to pay $450 in penalties plus another $100 per day for every day that he wanted to extend his visa. The other guy paid like well over $1,000 for the same thing. So they're just charging whatever. I told him I didn't have any money. I told him all I had was $20, and it's crazy how he didn't understand English at all, until I said I didn't have but $20, which is crazy. But so, I lost my cool, actually, thanks goodness. Had that been in Russia, I don't think I would have been able to do that. But lost my cool, said my few choice words, ripped my passport out of the dude's hand, walk upstairs. And as I'm walking upstairs, I'm looking online for a flight, just any flight to get me out of there. Because the only way I was going to be able to do it, I was going to have to go out of the country and pretty much go out of the country, check back in, then go get my bags, and then fly out. So I got one. I think I got one to Kiev. So I got a flight to Kiev that was like about to leave in a couple hours, and I literally walked from that office upstairs, went to Kiev, literally turned right back around from Kiev, went right back into Belarus, got rechecked, got issued for that day, got my stuff. I didn't even stay at the hotel. Immediately went back to the airport, and I just sat there and I waited, man, because I was like, "There's no way I'm gonna get stuck." Because I just knew something was gonna happen. But yeah, man, I didn't have the greatest travel experiences, to and from Belarus. Just couple that with all the events that transpired, during the meet. It's just, for me, it just wasn't a good feel. It just didn't feel right. It doesn't necessarily feel right now, even to go back. But again, who's to say that I'll even qualify to go? Number one.
Well, there's always that, but
it's,
I don't know. I think we can file that in there. Don't try this at home, but
don't do that unless you're, I don't even, the only person I think could get away with that could do it, Ray Williams. He could do that. He could easily do that. And they wouldn't say a word to him. But yeah, I lost, man. I absolutely lost my cool. I could not. It's just something about a grown man yelling at you. And if you've ever been, and this is no knock on him, but I just didn't like the guy standing over me, number one. And I don't like, that he's wearing that little ugly Ranger Rick looking hat. I hated those. And dude, who do you think you're talking to? Like, I'm not the one. Of course, that was one of the, you think back on like, that could have been one of the dumbest things I've done in a long time. But, looking back on it, I was glad, to have gotten out, because I was about to get detained with 6 hours to spare on my freaking passport. I'm like, what's going on? So I don't think that me and Belarus get along very well. So I don't know. I don't see. I don't foresee me in the future going back to Belarus. So I don't know. I mean, but things change. I mean, who knows? They might end up changing it. I don't know. I'm hoping just for the sake of the American team. And I mean, from what I've talked to a lot of a lot of lifters that when people found out, a lot of the I guess the world class lifters that have a possibility of qualifying, and a lot of them don't really. It's not looking too good in terms of them wanting to go back to Belarus. So maybe it's one of those things that if you speak up enough, the possibility of not having a U.S. team there, I mean, it could be a good thing or a bad thing, And here's the thing that, if you went to Belarus, it wasn't necessarily packed. It wasn't necessarily a packed house, but, so it's not like, a lot of people came to the meet. So, I mean, it could be a good thing or bad thing, if the U.S. team decides not to come. I think if it were one of those things, not necessarily a boycott, but if, we decided, just for the safety of our team not to go back, I think that's a super classy move.
Well, I've only heard like individuals, like I haven't heard any talk about like the U.S. team not going or anything like that. I've only heard about it. Like there are individuals who have said that they wouldn't go or they wouldn't support it. But, I just want to make it clear that I don't want to make it sound like, the U.S. team is considering boycotting the thing, because I don't know anything about that.
I know, not at all. I mean, I think for me personally, if they were to, for the sake of lifters not go, I mean, I definitely wouldn't be mad about it. I would I'm not saying I would encourage it. I definitely wouldn't discourage it. But I just feel like, at this point, with what we're trying to do in terms of, in the USAPL in the last, I want to say the last, last year or two have they've really stepped their game up and really trying to, not necessarily put their money where their mouth is, but I mean, in a sense, really trying to show a lot of lifters, especially on the international level, that they're really trying to, put the lifters at the forefront. I've actually, seen it, experienced it personally, and I'm, it's been really awesome actually, seeing the efforts that they're putting forth. I feel like in terms of how, from a lifter's perspective, if they were to issue a statement or say that, we're strongly considering not going to Belarus, based off of, a loss, that the team had last year or, in previous years, I wouldn't be mad about that. I honestly don't think lifters or coaches would be mad at it in terms of just, the message that it sends. It's not like it's a slap at the IPF. It's not like it's a slap at Belarus, but this is out of respect for loss, and it's out of respect for, for a teammate, which that speaks volumes in terms of, a federation putting its lifters first rather than a win. Again, that's just me speaking. Like I said, I just feel like everybody can hold hands and drink a Coke and smile and sit under a rainbow. But again, I definitely, me personally, I can't in the foreseeable future see myself going back to Belarus anytime soon, just because I just don't. For me, it just doesn't feel right going back. And the cool thing is there's tons of meets that you can go to. But I don't know. Weren't we supposed to do a meet in Mexico? Right?
I think there was one scheduled that got moved.
Yeah, I think either they moved it or I mean again, this may be hearsay, but I'd heard that that the US wasn't going to be sending the team just out of for safety. So again, it's for me that's huge. I can stomach not going to a meet. I can stomach not going to an IPF meet. If my federation, if they're doing it out of respect and for the safety of the lifters, that's as classy as it gets, man. I mean, you have over 14, 15, 16,000 members, and you have your elite of the elite, and and I'm not saying they're shoo-ins to win, but I mean they're very, very competitive, and you have some amazing competitors that can go out there and really do some damage and really represent the country very well. But when you start putting their safety above the wins, and when you start making it making it about the lifters and lifters' safety, and making it about the respect for your fellow lifters, man, that's huge. I feel like that's as classy as it can get, man. And in terms of how it impacts the culture, and in terms of how how that goes over with the people in your federation, I feel like you can't lose anybody that way. You can't. You're only going to gain. I feel like you're only going to gain respect from the people in your federation. At the same time, you're going to gain more admiration, and definitely, I feel like you're going to just build more momentum in terms of what you're trying to do. Like I said, in terms of what I would like to do, in terms of trying to make this thing more saturated within respect and care and actually love for your fellow lifter, man. I don't think it gets any better in terms of the moves that a federation can make. I think the classic move would be just, hey, you know what? We're just gonna bow this one out.
Something like that'll happen, and it's certainly possible that there's more going on behind the scenes and stuff like that. And more to the story of what went on. In past years too, but I don't know. I guess we'll see what comes of all of it.
I do have a question for you. I definitely have a question for you. I've been wondering, am I going to see you back on the platform anytime? That's the question.
Oh, I don't know. I need to start reintroducing some of that stuff into my training. But I mean, I've got a long way to go before I get back on the platform, if it happens. But it's kind of what we were talking about earlier. If it does, great. If it doesn't, then I've made my peace with it. But hopefully it does. But
get it itch every now and again, or you just
yeah, like at Worlds, especially like watching people compete and like being back there and I don't know, that whole process makes me miss it for sure. But,
oh yeah.
Guys, I'm sorry I got to break this up. I know it's kind of an abrupt end, but I have to get going. LS, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with us today. Ross, thanks for hanging out with us too. Yeah, thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next time.
Y'all later.
Reactive Training Systems.